this is Act 2, Scene 4, and it begins at about line 310 when they're in the tavern and Hal and Falstaff are about to put on the play extempore. And that's basically a play within a play. That's the dramatic device, and it is used by Shakespeare as a means of creating some tension and drama. And we're getting to the pivotal point of the moment. It's the rising tension, and in this play within the play, what occurs is that there's a lot of light-hearted humour, a lot of jest going on, but running underneath that is a very serious point to be made. So there's a lot of truth hidden underneath the humour. So we begin by Hal saying, stand in, you be my father, and examine the particulars of my life. And he's saying that the chair will be my state and the dagger my scepter, and to make things all really ridiculous and humorous, he puts a cushion on his head as the crown. And as we go down, we get to the point here where Falstaff starts to make some very telling statements about Prince Hal. And he says, I do not only marvel where thou spendest thy time, but also how thou art accompanied. So he's saying there that in mock that he's associating with the commoners in the tavern, and that's a real concern. And he says down here, there is a thing, Harry, which thou hast often heard of, and it's known to many in our land by the name of pitch, as in black, soot. This pitch, as ancient writers do report, doth defile. So it's really saying that, through metaphorically, that the commoners are corrupting. And it says, now I do not speak to thee in drink, but in tears, not in pleasure, but in passion, not in words only, but in woes also. And yet there is a virtuous man who I have often noted in thy company, but I don't know his name. So he's saying that the people that he's associating with are dragging him down. He says up here, a question has not to be asked. Shall the son of England prove a thief and take purses? And that's a really, he's cutting right to the core there and saying how, as the future king, this is a real issue, and it's bad for your reputation. So it's the people of the tavern that are bringing his reputation into disrepute. But there is one character, he says, that he should look at, and it's a goodly, portly man, in faith, and a corpulent, a cheerful look, a pleasing eye, and most noble carriage. And so he's using humour, and it's very entertaining to watch this on the screen or to watch it live. And he says down here, I speak it. There is virtue in that Falstaff. Keep him with you, and banish the rest. And so here he is, prompting Hal to keep him close to him, because Falstaff knows that very soon Hal is going to return to the court, and he is going to distance himself from the people in the tavern. Now, from here, Hal says to him, dost thou speak like a king? And he says, let's swap roles. I'll play the king, and Falstaff, you play me as Prince Hal. And he says, depose me? What an absurdity. And so there's good humour there. But as we come down into the passage here, Hal, as the king, says to Hal, who's being played by Falstaff, thou art violently carried away from grace. You are being brought down, your nobility is being destroyed. There is a devil haunts thee in the likeness of an old fat man. A ton of a man is thy companion. So here he's using a biblical allusion to the devil, and so he's really painting Falstaff's character in a very um, uh, very low way, and he talks about the types of things that are occurring as a result. And Falstaff says, "I would your grace would take me with you." Who means your grace? And he continues the biblical allusion of that villainous, abominable misleader of youth, Falstaff, that old white-bearded Satan. So he's really saying that Falstaff is a corrupter of youth, and that he takes the innocence away from, or he's robbing hell of his innocence, and so that's quite a a strong statement. And when you watch this scene, as the scene progresses, it moves away from comedy. So there's a lot of light-hearted banter. It's very amusing to watch. But when we're getting into the play extempore, there is still humour, but the tension is rising, and you can really feel the turning of point of the tension in the play, and it's really starting to occur around here. He's calling Falstaff the devil, and then we get to this point, and Falstaff basically defends himself in a humorous way, but he gets down here and he says, "Banish plump Jack and banish all the world." So he's saying you can banish everybody else, but don't banish me. And Henry says, "I do, I will." So the technique, the term used for when you remove all the conjunctions from a line or from a sentence is ascendant, and so we have this very short, direct statement, and that creates a lot of drama, and it turns or basically abolishes the comedy aspect of this scene and the earlier parts of the play. And you'll see that Shakespeare uses a stage direction immediately after the knocking, and that changes the focus a little bit because it is meant to be very tense. And that's brought about by the sparsity of the language, because there's a lot of, rather than having a lot of dialogue, this cuts to the core, and it really shows Prince Hal's intentions, and that he is role playing, and he has been role playing the whole time. He's been performing a role, and he's been playing a part so that he can better understand the commoners. And so here he tells us directly, and tells Falstaff as well, that that's it. It's time to move on. So it's a very high point of the drama. So the play extempore is a very pivotal moment in the play. It's a very important scene because Hal throws off his vacation that he's been having. He's been having a great old time. He's stepped out of his princely duties and responsibilities. He's been a bit reckless. He's been a truant to chivalry, as he says. And here is the turning point where he is going to step back into his role and take responsibility for his actions. And it really does reveal to the audience, and it's a nice thing to look at, is this notion of Hal being a performer, and that he's playing a role, and he understands that that's what's required from a politician, from a leader, that he has to play different roles in different places. And he says, "I can drink with any tinker in any language, or in their language," and he's saying that he can move between the tavern and the commoners and then in the court, and he understands each setting and the people, and that's really effective in terms of him being a good leader.